And we are back with another Monday preview. Guys, the boys are doing an East Coast road trip. We've got 4 games to cover for this week. We've got the New York Islanders, the Philadelphia Flyers, the New York Rangers, and finishing off with the New Jersey Devils. Starting off with the New York Islanders, at the time of recording, they're sitting 4th out of 8th in their division. Their last 10 are 5-5-0. There is no back-to-back for the Islanders, and same for the Blackhawks. Both will have played Sunday, and then they will play on Tuesday. Their injured reserve for the Islanders is pretty lengthy, but there are quite a few players that are out for the season or like a long-term injured reserve situation that aren't playing too much of a role into their performance currently. So you've got Duclair, Pulak, and Romanoff are out. And then, like I said, you have a bit more that are out for the season, but we kind of already knew this for a while. Their last matchup was at the tail end of 2025. Boys unfortunately lost in a shootout. Notable forwards for the New York Islanders is Barzal, Palat, Horvat, Lee, and then Braden Shen, a new addition as of the trade deadline from the St. Louis Blues. Defenseman, I mean, it's Matthew Schaefer. It's the king of the island. That's your biggest threat and your biggest notable defensive piece to keep an eye on during the matchup against the Islanders is the Schaefer. Goaltending tandem is Sorokin and Rittich. Again, like I said, it is Schaefer. Keep the puck away from Schaefer if at all possible, and for as long as you can. The Islanders, looking at their record kind of post-Olympic break, they're not in a complete skid, but pucks are still definitely finding the way into the back of, Sorokin or Rittich's net. So if the boys are able to capitalize that a bit, maybe just shoot first, ask questions later, and not have this unnecessarily add an additional pass before you take a shot sort of thing, that should work in our favor. But the Schaefer kid is putting out obscene numbers. The Islanders are obviously doing well right now, but you never know. And like I said, pucks are still making their way behind their own net. Next up, we've got the Philadelphia Flyers sitting at 5th out of 8th in their division. Their last 10 are 7-2-1. Again, no back-to-back for either Chicago or Flyers going into this matchup. They'll both play Tuesday, off day on Wednesday, and then they will both play on Thursday. Injured reserve for the Flyers is Abels, Barkey, Couturier, Forster, and Glendening. Forwards, you're looking at Konecki, Zegras, Michkov, Grebetkin. Defensemen, you're looking at Sanheim, Drysdale, and Ristolainen. And then the goaltending tandem is Vladar and Ersson. Last matchup with the Flyers, unfortunately, the Hawks lost 3-1 on December 23rd. Thing with the Flyers, too, it's a wacky one. Because they're not in the best scenario either, or best position either. When they win, it's close. It's like a 1-goal difference. And then if they lose, it's by a giant margin. So they've been kind of going through a bit of this at the moment. So again, keeping the mentality of just shoot first, ask questions later. I'm looking at you, Louis Crevier, the creature, because that is what that man does. And we love it. But if we could, kind of just pucks on net first, because, you don't know what's going to end up in the back of the net unless you shoot it. But yeah, it's a little kind of this. And again, we shall see. Next up is the New York Rangers, but we're going to jump to that in a minute with our friends at Double Defense at the end of the episode. And so I'm going to jump ahead to the New Jersey Devils first. As of right now, the Devils are sitting 7th out of 8th in their division. Their last 10 are 7-3-0. It is a back-to-back for New Jersey. They will play Saturday, and then they will play Sunday. Injured reserve, the only one that is not out for the season is Brett Pesce. The other 2 that are on injured reserve list are kind of just have been shut down for the year. Again, not horrible post-Olympics, but they ran through such bad of a skid, I think, prior to the Olympics that, that's a really big hole to try to dig yourself out of in these last couple of weeks. Common thing is, they've just been injury prone and rather unlucky, but they still have quite a few very talented players. Forwards, you're looking at Timo Meyer, Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, Nico Hischier, crusty old guy's favorite, Dawson Mercer. And then defensemen, you're looking at Dougie Hamilton, Luke Hughes, and Simone Nemec. Goaltending tandem is going to be Markstrom and Allen. And then the last time we faced off against the Devils was a overtime loss on November 12th. The boys lost 4-3. So it's going to be a hard road trip with these 4 games. But, I think if we can just get back to the mindset of when we played Utah, or even the second battle against the Wild, I think, puck's on net first. And gosh, if you have a lead, hold on to it. That's the words of wisdom for this big road trip. Finishing off, like I said, we're going to head over to an interview that we did with our friends at Double Defense, talking all things New York Rangers, and that will finish up the episode. So we've got the New York Islanders, Philadelphia Flyers, New York Rangers, and the New Jersey Devils. And continuing on our Monday preview, guys, we cannot talk about the New York Rangers without having Liz and Christine back on. Guys, welcome back.
Thanks for having us.
First thing, kind of, the biggest thing, obviously, with the Rangers that we can talk about, and we'll lump Panarin in, because even though it didn't happen, trade deadline week, but what were your guys' just thoughts, feelings, Panarin trade deadline period? Were you happy with things, drinking over things? What were your thoughts?
I'll let Christine field this because I know Panarin for her is a deeply personal subject. So I will let her field this one first.
And what I'm going to tell you is what exactly Liz went through with Kreider. So we have the same.
Don't remind me; it's too traumatic.
They're closer. No, they're closer. It's more fun, and we're getting teased.
I know they both come out here.
I know. Right. So okay. So we'll take it back a little bit with Panarin. That there was the day where he was told, "Hey, we're not renewing your contract." I actually happened to run into him at a bar later that night, which I couldn't act on, so I just was like, oh my God. And because so I was meeting some friends, and so but he was in good spirits. He was talking with Gavrikov, and there's more to the Gavrikov story because he has a house out here, so I think they switched houses and stuff. So we knew this was happening. We didn't know where or when. Liz and I were like, it needs to be Anaheim. And then Anaheim had come up. I know one of the bigger ones was the Capitals, and that's where I was freaking out mentally because I'm a no Capitals for me. When Henrik got traded, I cried, and he never played there. So, and I knew it, the heart wasn't in it. And so I was watching, so it was that day. So it was the day that the trade freeze was happening. We knew something was going to happen. We just didn't know. Rumors are flying everywhere. I don't really take too much to heart with the rumors, but I know that they were saying it with the Capitals, and I think Liz and another friend of ours, you guys were in Florida at the time, so and during things, and I was texting them back and forth, and I'm like, no, because our other friend's a Caps fan. I'm like, no, and so it was back and forth, a lot of like, what's going to happen? Because I think that trade, or I think we got the announcement just a few minutes before the deadline, and so he was working stuff out. And then we found out it was the Kings, so that I got really excited for, because hey, if he's gonna go anywhere, come out here, and now we love that. My son's a huge Kings fan. Both my kids are, and my ex-husband. So it was funny because I think I was on a call. I think I was talking to my son, and he's like, "I gotta go." It was his brother, and then everyone else was like calling him about the same thing, and so so that was pretty exciting. We had to wait 2 weeks, for the the game, and then I went to that first game to kind of see how he was doing, and it was interesting. Like a lot of people, everyone was really happy, to kind of see him there. A lot of fans. It was the one time I could wear my Rangers jersey in LA at a Kings game, and everyone was like, "Thank you so much," and everyone was so excited. And so it was probably the best time I had in a Rangers jersey at an LA Kings game, and so It was fun. He's doing really well now. So, I know life is that they get traded. We can't keep our favorite players. I do try when I get attached to a player, I do follow them. I'm not going to not be their fan or unless they go to
Yeah.
camp, then they're disowned. That's it. Then I'm done. And that's a fact. So, but I haven't had that happen yet. Knock on wood. You know. So so that we knew it was going to happen. It was quite unfortunate. We had time to digest it, right? And we still don't understand it, but it happened. And because we never really saw anything come back. So he got traded for a couple of
Right.
draft, and none of the trades kind of yielded. I mean, we got we got a player or two, and that's fine. But we still don't understand what the big picture is going to be with this picture. So I think the bigger one was more the hype of Trocheck, too. It was like, where's
Yeah.
he gonna go? Oh wait, nothing happened. So
I think as fans, so Jury had made this announcement about, or he sent out the letter
Another
2.0, which
letter.
was, yeah, which was about how the Rangers are not rebuilding, they're just retooling. And I don't know, it felt like as fans, it was quite confusing to watch this Panarin trade go down because with the seeming return for what they got for him, it didn't feel like it was a necessary move. They probably could have tried to re-sign Panarin if really the idea behind what Jury's whole plan was is a retool and not a rebuild. Why get rid of Panarin when you could have kept him and signed him for what the Kings signed him for? So I think, I don't know, as a fan, we've been left a little bit stunned and confused about what the actual plan is, and do these guys have a plan, or are they just absolutely winging it? So I guess time will tell. The Rangers did go on a little hot streak, and we talked about this last week on the podcast that hopefully what I don't want to have happen is the Rangers go on these little mini hot streaks, get absolutely nowhere, and then Drury, our GM, is praised as he was this master
Right.
deal maker, and it gives him credit for something that he shouldn't get credit for. This whole thing feels, as a fan, to me, and maybe Christine will disagree with this, it feels like it was very mishandled, but I guess only time will tell. Right now, we're at the bottom of the pack. We are tied with the Blackhawks, and we were just talking about how we are sharing your pain this year. So I guess we'll see what happens next year and the year beyond, because this is obviously a long part of a longer term plan. Maybe.
That my next question,
you know what the plan
as
is.
someone from a fan base
So
that has a big plan, do you guys think that Jury actually has a plan?
I'm shaking my head. No, no. But you know
No,
what?
but
Panarin has a plan. But because Panarin, the Kings just played. They just lost. The Rangers just lost to the Kings on Monday. And if you heard Panarin's gone, he's like, everyone should get traded out here. I think he has a plan to bring all the cool guys out his way. To LA and Anaheim, which I'm like, we're all for at this
yeah,
point.
yeah. Jury's
So
plan is to make us all fans of other teams, it's working great. I'm a huge Ducks fan now. Christine back on the
he's
Kings.
got merch. I got
Congratulations.
merch.
Well done.
So, you know, well, I'm going to take it back a couple years when Vegas came about, and I don't know if you've talked about this before, but when Vegas was formed, they picked people from a team there was no expectations. Everyone was young, and guess what? Vegas went right up the ladder, right to the Stanley Cup. And right after that, there was this huge rush to get young players, and this is where we saw how the Rangers treated Henrik Lundqvist. Even though he had a contract to kind of close out his career, they're like, we're not going to get rid of you, your contract, but we're not playing you. You make the decision, and so, and that's why when we're kind of seeing a little parallel with Panarin, right? They said, well, we're not going to renew your contract. You can do whatever you want. We're just not going to renew you. So they were smart to get something because they might not have gotten anything.
Right.
And so when we saw that, their whole mission, I think, was to get this stronger, younger, faster team. And for a time we did have that. We were the youngest team in the NHL. did it work the way they wanted to? No. Why? Because one of the biggest complaints that we see and that we feel too is there's not really good development with these younger, or not as good as we're seeing with these other younger players. And we've got some of the returns we've got are these giant guys. So maybe the new trend in their thought is I'm going to go for the tall guys, instead of the young, faster guys. Because now we have a couple guys, we have 3 or 4 guys now that are like over 6'5", so and so we don't know what the strategy is because we haven't even seen them ask for anything. We're opening up all this cap and we're looking to get more next year. So that's what we're kind of seeing is like, who's that big name player? Who's that big energy player that they can get, that they want, and we're not seeing any of that develop unless it's going to be a big secret.
And might he come
That
from
is the
Chicago?
secret plan.
Yeah.
It's so secret. We don't know. Who knows? Now we're in survival mode just to just get through the remainder of these games. We have less than 1 month left, right? So
Yeah.
and not cry. Yeah. So, and I'm waiting. Just make sure the seats are cheaper because I'll be in New York in 2 weeks to see a couple of the games. I'm like, make them cheap for me. I'm okay.
Oh yeah, good luck with that. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's on the retool agenda also.
Well,
No, from
people
my
aren't
experience, it
going.
gets worse.
I think your cat wants to share its
Oh,
opinion too.
he wants the chicken treats that are sitting next to me. He's like,
So
hello.
yeah,
He's like, I know you're in the middle of something, but snack. There you go, my friend.
it'll be an interesting thing. In fact, one of the things that we saw today, it was shared by one of our followers, is that the next game, it's looking like they're going to bring Garand up and kind of sit out Shusterkin and Quick. And
They
that's
might as well. They might as well.
that's what I kind of said. I'm like, look, these guys, they both just got beat up hard by 2 teams, so it's like 40 shots on goal with them without anyone really helping them, and we still lost. So
Right.
they did amazing jobs and still lost. I'm like, they do need a break. I get it, but what is that a kind of
What does that look
precursor?
like?
Yeah,
Are
and
we seeing Quick retiring now? Because and having and Grant coming up and being the goalie. So there's a lot of more questions than answers or thoughts.
I don't know if Chicago feels this way, but as a Ranger fan right now, it feels like we're watching preseason for next year. And it should be, because what else are they going to do? They might as well give these young guys some opportunities to play games when it matters and get the experience. You're not making the playoffs no matter what anybody says, even if we're not technically mathematically eliminated, it's not happening. So we might as well be playing these younger guys, seeing where there's chemistry developing. I mean, look at Lafreniere, and the last couple of games have been really interesting because all of a sudden he's had an incredible comeback after not having opportunity, or really maybe not having a chance to play with different people. So all of that to say, we're basically in preseason for next year.
Hey, and Lafreniere just got NHL Player of the Week last week. So, and this is just 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, every single, mostly men, were all complaining how terrible he was and he should have been the first one on the trading block. And now all of a sudden he's shining, and and I don't know. I'm curious, if you have seen that, like, because everyone's like, we never needed Panarin anyway. I'm like, look, it's a formula. It's not just that he's gone. It's that Trocheck now is off the chopping block. It's that the Olympics are done. It's, hey, Miller was out. Now he's back and we're losing. Everyone wants him off the team again. Go back and get injured because we did better without you. Rempe's out with his baby finger. And so, and it seems like we do better when some of these people aren't playing. So, that's a sign right there that, some of us can kind of see, kind of to Liz's point, where it's like, now you're seeing people kind of either maybe they have the freedom to play, with the line that they are excelling on and they're doing better on, and they're allowing to do that, and we're seeing that is a better thing, at least short term or for little moments. We'll take anything.
Right.
Right? Right? What you do, right? We'll take everything. So how's your team doing? You know.
We're really, really young. It's just a lot of babies. Um,
I know when Bedard's the the old timer on the team.
I think no, it's our old timer is Alex Vlasic, who is 24, is our longest tenured player on the team. Everybody else came in after.
That's
Um,
crazy.
it's been interesting. I think a lot of people had expectations when they had like a good start to the season. I'm now at the point where I just have no expectations. That way I kind of just don't get disappointed. But I'm
It's
always
coping.
happier to see the younger kids, even if it's like a really bad loss or whatever. I would much rather see these younger kids find their footing in the NHL than a couple of seasons ago where we had like Connor Bedard's first year where it was like Connor and then like a skeleton crew of an AHL team. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just not where we want to be. I mean, I'm spoiled. So now it's just nicer to see some younger guys. Um, but it's been rough. I think a lot of the younger kids, you had Bedard out a couple of times. You had Nazar out. We still really don't know what happened. Something broke in his face. It wasn't like his jaw was broken because he didn't just like get it wired shut and then was back on the ice. Like he was rocking like half a face shield for a while. Um, but yeah, it's been rough. Thank goodness Spencer Knight exists. Very grateful for his presence on our team. Because otherwise we would be surefire number one for McKenna without him.
Yeah, we've been talking all season how just this is just the weirdest season, you know. Like
Yes.
you guys are kind of in that same boat, you know. We feel for you because now we're with you. We're riding on the same boat, and we've kind of dropped and kind of just watched everything just like in disbelief. It
Mhm.
started off in disbelief. Like we play really well, but we still lose, and then we play really and we still lose, and uh, but we're not the only teams, you know. So
Right.
no
No, it's
one's
a
even
weird year.
no one's talking about the Panthers, you know, who are like we're gonna three-peat it, and they're not even making it. You
No.
know, like what happened there?
So
so,
great.
and you have like to your point with the kids and how you like to see them shine. And we've been talking about this too. Is this is a really good year for those new draft, you know, picks and these kids that have done amazingly well and have done so much for their teams, whether we like them or not. You know, um, we
Right.
they have done really well, and I mean the Islanders are vying for first, and you know, and it's Matthew Schaefer and Macklin. I mean, these guys are like breaking youth, you know, team records, you know, every day. I can't even keep up, you know, with trying to share it. And every day
Yeah.
it's Matthew Schaefer. I'm like, oh, do I want to do another one? But yeah, you know, okay, he's a young kid. He's doing really well, and you want to see that because eventually he might get traded, and we might get him. You know, who knows? You know, so it's it is fun to see that, and I like the younger kids because they do have fun with what they're doing. I like watching them
Yes.
against each other, you know. So
Yes. Oh yeah.
that's what makes it most fun is to pick up those games where you know you have the Hughes brothers playing Schaefer, you know, and when they're all playing each other, that makes it fun. I watched a couple
Oh,
of.
we love a Connor Bedard versus Macklin Celebrini game.
I love
Those
it.
are, oh, we haven't gotten too many of them because injuries always line up coincidentally right when they're about to play each other. But those games, you kind of just like sit there and you're like, oh my God, this is going to be the Western Conference final in like 5 years. This is insane.
Yeah, and the key next year will be: are they going to continue to improve? Was this a Cinderella year, you know, for each of them? Gautier's another one. You know, you know, they've all done well. Is this a Cinderella season for them, or are we going to see them continue to do that in the next season? So another thing to kind of watch out for, and you know, and how that goes. You know, so just that's something to. I do look forward to that. You know,
Oh,
aside from
absolutely.
our own miseries.
Not to keep getting into your guys' misery, but we're gonna keep getting into your guys' misery just a little bit. Um, Because, you know, we obviously had like this, we talked last time you guys were on the slump right at the beginning of like the struggles that the Rangers were having right at the beginning of the year. What, and you say like they play well, but they're still not winning. What is it about like this team and this year that just it isn't clicking?
Well, I don't think I agree with Christine that they're playing well. I don't think that they're playing well at
No,
all.
no,
I
that,
think
that
I
was
think they
past
just
tense.
totally deserve
That
to
was
lose.
past tense. That was in the beginning.
Oh,
Yeah, that
past
was
tense.
that's
Okay.
how it started.
We're not
Yeah, no, no,
playing
no. It
well
was how
and
they
we're not
started.
winning. Why aren't we playing well?
No, here we're just surviving. I'm like, I think they're drinking. Maybe they should drink. I mean, I'm drinking. Just go out. I mean, right now it's like, who cares? Reset the game. Go have fun. Do whatever you need to do. Just try not to, really suck. So wait, look, we had a game streak, which was the first in since 2024, and we lost it. But that's okay. you know. But what do you think,
Okay,
guys?
I think there's a number of things, and I think there's definitely a locker room issue that has been prevalent for years at this point.
Hmm.
So they have been through. This is what coach 3 in 5 years, something along those lines. I don't think it's the coaches. I think that there is a massive locker room issue that's happening behind the scenes. And I also think JT Miller was not the right choice for captain. And I will die on that hill. I really think that he's had attitude issues. You can see that he's not giving it his all. He wasn't before the Olympics. He was out just after the Olympics because he was injured. And I don't know, don't know for sure, but there was some video footage of him crowd surfing in a Miami nightclub after he won the gold medal. So, as a fan, if you're the captain of my team, which you are, and I get it. Thank you for representing Team USA. Thank you for bringing home that gold. That's awesome. You looked very happy when you were doing that. But the second that you get back, you get injured. Why were you crowd surfing in Miami? Like, whatever, go out, have some drinks, celebrate, do whatever you need to do. Not necessary. And as a fan who, when I go to Madison Square Garden, I'm asked to pay exorbitant prices for tickets and beers. I don't like to see that. And I find that attitude really frustrating. And then after he was out, the Rangers did go on a little win streak. They've since ended that win streak, like Christine was saying. But I don't know if JT Miller's presence has really been helping this team. So to me, I don't think he was the right choice of captain, but I think that's a bigger reflection of what's happening in the locker room for over the last couple of years. I don't think it's unique to this team. We
Well,
had a great run.
and don't forget, like this, like he was the captain that wasn't chosen by his peers. He was chosen by management, and that's where you're kind of seeing that it's beyond. Now we've created this upper management buddy system, right? So it's that jury thing, that whole thing of like when
Totally.
a team does well, jury shouldn't take credit, and we're here to make sure that doesn't happen. So, but and they're always like I'm seeing. I think another podcast was just talking about this jury is jury here for life. He might be. We're learning. That there's nothing's going to happen to him, and he. I think behind the scenes controls more than we think. So when people are like, "Oh, it's the coach," I'm like, "Nope, go up." But now they're, with Sullivan there too. They're all like they're triple all buddies. So I think we're having the coaches stay and the managers stay, and then the players are paying the price for that.
Yeah, there's also Mike Sullivan has made some odd comments just over the course of this season where it's like almost like you're right, Christine. It's like buddy buddy or playing favorites or something that feels just a little bit off. But Mike Sullivan's also new to this team. He's only been the
Right.
coach this season. There was an issue prior to this as well. So it's not just him, but I do think there's something very amiss with like the chemistry. And then you watch a team like the Ducks, and I have been thanks to Chris Drury, I'm a Ducks fan now, and you just see such genuine positivity when they're on the bench, how they're communicating. Whenever you see like social media behind the scenes, they just have like a way about them where it looks like they're having fun. And I missed that with the Rangers. I think a few years ago, you could tell the Rangers used to be a team that would have fun. And now that just has been like sucked out. And where has it gone? I don't know.
Came out here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
came
gone
to the West
west.
Coast. Absolutely. Hey, and good for us. We're closer to these teams. It's easier for us to get to Kings and Ducks games. So it's, they're making it a much better fan experience. And that's also reflected in the standings. And if it's one thing, if the Rangers were like, oh yeah, it's tough out there, but we're still New York, we're still number one. But we're not. We're in last place in the East. So like what's happening?
Do you guys, because I mean, from like dynasty to now, Krusty and I can definitely like pinpoint a point where it was like, okay, this was the beginning of the decline. We always like to say trading away Philip Deneau to the Montreal Canadiens was the beginning of the end for us. Is there like a guy that left for the Rangers or maybe like an off season where you guys kind of knows like, okay, things seem different?
So I have my theory on this because I think we
Mhm.
were actually asked something similar on maybe it was the Ducks podcast. I can't remember. Okay, my theory on this is that it was not trading. I'm sorry, when they fired Gerard Gallant, the coach from several years ago. So prior to Peter Laviolette, they got rid of Gallant. I don't know why they got rid of him. The Rangers had been doing okay. Like there was a lot of positivity. Felt like he had good control of that team, and then he was gone. And I felt like there was an issue, and instead of addressing whatever the issue was, they're like, let's change the coach. Let's slap a band-aid on this problem. And it turned out they brought in Laviolette, who's an amazing coach, and it didn't work. And now Mike Sullivan is coaching a last place team. He's a top level. I mean, you can't
Right.
get better than Mike Sullivan. So I feel like it was not addressing whatever problem was behind getting rid of Gerard Gallant, because I think that was, to me, kind of this like departure point.
The interesting thing with that too, with Gallant, is that he had proven over time to be most successful in like his third season, and they fired him on the second season. So when you have a history of like taking that time and developing and kind of getting to a point where you're successful, and then you're axed right before you have that ability to do that, then we just don't know. So I agree with that because we kind of saw that and we were kind of watching it. Those things just didn't make a whole lot of sense. And, again, these are great coaches, and the expectation, I don't know what their expectation was within that short time frame, and then you have Laviolette who came in to say, oh, wait, we were here and we made the play, and then we went from not making it. And then and history seems to repeat itself. So we were watching these historical numbers, and everyone's like, oh, last time they did this, they won the Stanley Cup. And you have these kind
Right.
of expectations. And yeah, and I think the minute they fell short, they kind of tried to make a change. Sullivan, if anybody should be let go, it should be Sullivan, because he came in with this huge winning kind of background to say, I'm going to take this team from here, I'm going to bring you there, and it fell flat the whole time. That, I think, out of all expectations, the one that felt most short is Sullivan. And it just it should have been done better. And like to Liz's point, a lot of his comments, and post interviews, after games, like they're not. In fact, like yesterday, I think I heard him say something about confidence. I'm like, I don't want to hear that ever again with this team. Like, or we need shirts. I mean, like, I want to wear a shirt. Like, did you find
Confidence.
it? Did we find the confidence? I'm like, how are we talking
Yeah.
confidence with professionals? It's like,
It's like
man,
one step away from like telling them to like smile more.
I
You
know
really
or
do
it's like,
smile
you're a
more.
good boy. I'm like, what? What do you want? Do you want gold stars or just a good boy? Good boy. I say that to my Roomba, who's named Mika, when it doesn't get stuck somewhere. I'm like, this is a good boy. You made it all the way home. This is a good boy, Mika.
Goodness. Yeah, we get a bit, not a ton of the confidence thing. I think I have a little bit more patience with it now with like most of our team just being so young. And I do think that there is like a confidence aspect from like jumping from college hockey to NHL.
That
But
makes
yeah, if
sense.
I had an entire roster of veterans and it was just all about confidence, I think
I,
I'd
I, I,
lose it.
I don't even understand it. It's like Miller with like blaming the fans, so they're all over the place on on things. I just don't think they know how to act or or do anything. And you're right. Like if you're in a spot that we were in before, 5, 6 years ago, whatever, or longer actually, and building up. If that's the intention of the manager and the coach, is to take that younger team and develop them into this stronger team, then that's a good thing. I mean, it's funny. I don't know if you watch some of the other teams and just try to figure out why they're so good. Like why is the Colorado Avalanche barreling through everybody? Why are the Sabres like doing amazing things? And so it's
She'll come back.
it's there's never a right formula because everything changes every year. Players advance. They have their own personal best and what they want to do, and along with the team, with their line and with the team and organization as well. There's so many different moving parts to things that the teams that work well are the teams that get it right in that moment, in that time for that season. And that's why I think it's always fascinating to watch, and where I'm dumbfounded when it's not, working, And so no one's been perfect, as much as everyone wants to kind of, cheer their team
Right.
on. Not one team's ever won 100% of their games. So no one's perfect, and it's fun to watch. But yeah, you want to see some for it, So yours is fun to watch if that's the goal. To kind of see these young guys. We have another draft coming up that just got announced, when they're going to pick the draft lottery and the order, and
Yep.
then they'll have the draft in the summer. And I think, like, I'm feeling that there was such hype this last, maybe it's because we were just paying attention and we were there, that we kind of focused more on it. But I was excited, and I'm excited to see where these kids were going and the ones that are playing now. And I want to see that level of excitement this year. I want to see a whole nother new, Matthew Schaefer come out and kick his butt
Right.
and break his records. I just want to continue to see that happen. And hopefully one of them comes to the Rangers. I don't know. With all the draft picks I feel we have, we should get something. So that's exciting. Yeah, I'm going to watch you guys more on that then. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm always very excited about the draft. Krusty gives me a lot of grief because I get way into the draft way too early. And I'm like, it's January, let's go. And he's like, no, we're waiting a little bit. But okay, on the flip side, what is going right for the Rangers? Or who is doing the right things if there's not like a particular part of the game? Who's doing what they're supposed to be doing? Who's working the right way?
Well, I mean, we talked about him earlier, but Lafreniere has
Mhm.
absolutely dominated, and it's almost odd. Like you have to look at it and go, "Is this a fluke? Is this just because now the pressure's off of them to make the playoffs that all of a sudden he's playing in so much better? I mean, a hat trick the other night. Like this was somebody who was such high expectations for the Rangers. Felt like he was a bust for a lot of years, and now has suddenly been able to turn on the gas. I mean, that's been amazing. I think we've seen a lot of positive play from the younger players like Perot, who's recently joined the team. I think that there's a lot of indications that there can be a rebuild that will come from some of these younger guys, and that feels good. It feels but like also as a Ranger fan, you're like, oh my god, how long do I have to wait again, and do we have to go through this again before we actually this comes to
Right.
fruition?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think, and also, like, our goalies never really get enough,
Credit, yeah.
accolades for what they do, and we're seeing that, and they're putting like there's look if you look at our roster, you got to kind of, I don't know. Liz has to figure out how to rhyme shamash, with everything, um, because it's like
That's
who
a hard one.
I
That's
don't
a
know.
that's a hard
And
one.
so, uh, but you have a couple, and like, and I agree. It's the younger kids, Laba, Perot, like, and Taylor. And they're the ones that are doing well. I know they're kind of shifting some out. I know there's been talk of a little bit of favoritism, so that's another thing. With this little club because Sherry is related to the coach, and so. So I'm seeing people complaining or talking about that, and he's been talking about it. He's been commenting on it and defending why he's playing him. So I think it goes back right now, and I think it's because we're just done, and it's like throw them out there. But this is when they were in the playoffs, where I think I was yelling at Liz when we were down there in Florida watching them play. Where stop putting all your effort into those veteran lines. If they're not doing their job, put the focus on those who are performing and are connecting and doing stuff, and mix it up. And I think that's why we're seeing Lafreniere kind of get in there and do stuff. And when Miko scored the other night, even though they lost, I mean, we see the smiles and stuff because they whether they're getting a little bit more ice time. And I think that's a problem we always see with Drury is he's always trying to catch up. You see how well, the Islanders are doing with, with Schaefer, and how the Devils are doing with Hughes. And these kids get so much ice time, and they're always out there doing they never get tired. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking to kind of always be that team, and they can't seem to catch up to that. They always seem to be that step behind. So hopefully they just flip it around and do something completely different and do their own thing and not worry about it. I just feel like there was monitoring everybody else and trying to do what everybody else is doing that works for them, and it's not going to work for the Rangers. So in the end, I think we're going to see that. I do like the idea of it's like a preseason. Just bring those kids up, let them play, and then see, because so I think we're going to see some of these kids come up and stay up, and like I don't know, like I follow like the Wolfpack, but I'm seeing like when one goes up, another one's coming up, so they're constantly moving, and that's what I want to see. Because again, right now we don't have any other big players. We haven't traded for anybody majorly big, and are we going to see that? I mean, that's the rumor. The rumor is Trocheck could still get traded in the summer. We still could lose everybody that we like so much. That's why I'm not buying a jersey. I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to bling anything up until we figure something out. Because you don't know. I mean, like all those people buying jerseys, I'm like, well, they might be gone by tomorrow. You don't know.
No, I'm a big Lev Shinov defender. We have crowned ourselves like number one Artie defender on the podcast because everyone likes to be very critical of him, especially anytime Demidov scores for the Montreal Canadiens, and everyone just gets more critical of Lev Shinov. But I'm like, I will get his jersey because we're figuring he's not getting traded. And aside from that, I am just waiting because I don't trust anything whatsoever. But yeah, similar position. We're waiting for some younger kids to come up. We've got one that is still like in the first round over in the SHL in Sweden. Not that I'm happy for a kid to get knocked out, but if he could just get knocked out of playoffs and play here, and so Connor has somebody to play with, would be great. And then we have another big fighter that is stuck in, I think he's got like visa problems right now, but the minute he can get here, I'm so excited.
And Connor's a restricted free agent at the end of the year. Is that correct?
He's fine. He will get $9.8 million for however long he wants, and the captaincy will come with the next contract.
The Rangers have a lot of cap space now.
So do we.
I know,
we have the most.
I just told you the Rangers theme, is to go try to follow everybody else. I don't know. Connor might be a little too old for the Rangers now. So.
Or the perfect opportunity. I don't know. This might be a very interesting podcast next year.
I know. We need another conspiracy theory.
Our captain stays. He will be. I've been telling everyone. I'm like, he will do the Aaron Judge thing that he did with the Yankees. The captaincy will come with the next contract, and he's staying forever. Please, because I can't.
We all hope that. Yeah.
Watch any more of this.
I figure he stayed this long, because that's always, I think when we first, like, how is he still there? And
the poor kid gets so fed up in interviews. He's like, how many times do I have to tell all of you I'm not leaving? I'm not miserable. That's just my face.
Yeah, but it might not be up to him, so, and that's the thing. And that's where I think I've kind of been a little confused, because he's a great player, but he hasn't made that. Just like again, let's compare him to Schaefer, where we've seen
Right.
what he's done, and it's not a matter of him contributing. It's also the matter of the way they play him. It's a two-sided thing. You give anybody 30 minutes on the ice, they're gonna do
They're going to
things.
do good
And
things.
so I saw that in the beginning, and I think I've always kind of questioned that. So as I always like, or as a fan, I was like that, but I also see the business side of stuff, and at some point, they do go above that line where they become a good commodity, and even though everybody wants him, everybody wants to stay there, he might well shine somewhere else and get something in return. Like what if they wanted to trade him for Macklin and do a little
No,
trade?
no.
Those
No,
are some
in no world
hypotheticals.
are
Let's
they
hope we would do
separating
that.
Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith. I think like the West Coast would combust
I know.
separating the two
They're
of
a
them.
pair.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think it is interesting because I think Connor's situation is unique that Chicago was not prepared to get Connor Bedard for that draft. We had a great likelihood because we burnt everything to the ground that year. So like the
I think this
likelihood
is
was
our
very
year.
high,
I'm feeling
but
it.
it wasn't guaranteed that we were getting him. And so, you see like San Jose already had a couple of pieces prior to Macklin coming on. The Islanders already have like some other like bigger guys there before Schaefer got there. Connor had no one,
Yeah.
absolutely no one, because we burnt it to the ground. And so I think he will shine, but I think it's not going to be immediate because he kind of did his whole like coming into the NHL the reverse way in terms of like who was already there. Yeah, that's
So
my
you have high expectations for him next year in the re-signing, so that
Oh yeah.
that'll be yeah, so that'll be an interesting season to watch for you and for Chicago as a whole. Is if that happens, he's paid what he wants, he gets the captain, and then anybody else you guys bring on, it's it's like that, is that your expectation to see that team move, and kind of like, we need a next Anaheim Ducks, because the Ducks were down there too, and well, they got half our players,
Right.
and a couple of young kids. It was a little bit combination, and they have just flown. I think we all want to be the Ducks, and seeing what we've seen out of them this season. Um,
I think my expectation is the captaincy and his re-signing going into next year. I think we're still 2 to 3 years out before they're competitive whatsoever. But I think next year, it's going to be the first year where that's Connor's locker room. That's not, Nick Foligno's gone, Dickinson's gone, Murphy's gone, all of these guys that kind of were there for that like transition period of the very end of the dynasty through whatever this is. They're all gone. It's the first year where it's like, this is Connor's room, and we'll see. I mean, I have high hopes because Connor's a robot who's been built to be a captain since he was like 12. But I think, the next year will be the first year where you kind of just see more, and I expect more out of kind of the younger core that's been there for a little bit, like your Bedard, your Nazar, your Vlasic. I don't have high expectations for the kids who are coming in, like it being their first year in the NHL. Like I will have realistic expectations for them. But
I
the
don't
kids
know.
who, this
I
is
think
like year 3, year 4.
yeah.
Now it's time to step it up.
It'll be interesting to watch next year again, because I think that there's just again, these kids this year set a bar that I think needs to be raised for
Oh,
for
hi.
all these young kids, so they should come in with better confidence than the Rangers have apparently now, and then kind of start setting those bar a little bit higher, and that's kind of what I've seen out of this year, and what I would expect from any of these teams and who they're choosing next year. So hopefully these kids that are in the draft and are getting ready for the summer to show up at their families all well dressed in their suits and everything, looking happy, are prepared to, um, you know, uh, set their sights on breaking, these records that these 3, 4 kids did this season. It's been extraordinary to watch. And I sit there and I'm like, I don't know why I don't like Matthew Schaefer and why I do like Macklin Celebrini. I'm like, I don't know. They do the same thing. Why is it? It's probably because he's an Islander, and he's part of that
I was gonna say it's a
property crowd.
proximity thing for you.
I feel that Macklin's a little bit more genuine, and then Schaefer's kind of got that little Islander attitude now, so that could be. I don't know. Trade him, and
He's
I
the
might
king
like
of the
him.
island.
So
Well,
that'll be fun. It'll be
perfect.
fun to
We'll
see.
we'll wrap up on a positive note, even though both of our teams are on the bottom of the standings. Guys, thank you
Well,
so
I'll
much
cheers
for
to
coming
that
on
any day.
again. Yeah, cheers
Just
to,
enjoy the
a
game.
good podcast episode, and hopefully we'll have fun 60 minutes this week.